Good evening, Cleveland and Columbus sports fans. This is Jen B, and you're tuned in live to the show of the land, right here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. Tonight we're going to talk about the Guardians, how the last week has gone, some injury updates, and some roster changes that have happened over the last week or so, and then we'll talk a little bit about the upcoming games. And then we're going to talk Browns, the preseason finale, final roster cuts, and some injury updates and a few other things with the Browns. We've got a lot to talk about with the Browns. And then we'll talk a little bit about the Crew who played on Saturday. And then we'll talk some college football that's going to be starting this week. So we have a lot to cover. So stay tuned. So let's start out with the Guardians. So the Guardians started the week out on Tuesday last week with the series against the Dodgers. They went 1-2 in that series. In game 1, they won 8-3, which was promising. I was like, all right, we can beat the Dodgers. This is awesome. Cole Calhoun came out strong and hit a 3-run home run that got things moving for the Guardians, and they just kept on trucking, and they pulled it out. So thinking positive. Then we go into game 2. Game 2 was crazy. So the game started, or I take that back. It didn't start. It got canceled. So weather was crazy. So then they started the game, and all of a sudden, out of nowhere, everybody clears the field and they start pulling tarps out onto the field. And everybody was like, what is going on? Even the announcers were like, what are they doing? It's not even raining. So they pull the tarps out. Game gets postponed for the whole night. They ended up playing a partial doubleheader the following day and started the game in the 3rd inning the following day, and then it got postponed again in the middle of that part of the game. The weather here was crazy. We had tornadoes in Cleveland. Crazy. So it was bad. There was like 250,000 people without power. It was absurd. So they finally finished the game and lost 6-1. And then they played game 3 later that same day and lost 9-3. Bummer. So the first game was not insight on what was to come. It was a fluke. So then they moved on to the Blue Jays, and they played the Blue Jays in Toronto. So Bo Naylor was home for the first time since becoming a major leaguer. So they went 2-1 against the Blue Jays. Game 1, they won 5-2. Bo Naylor hit a solo home run. Ramon Laureano hit a 2-run home run. And Andres Jimenez hit a solo home run. So it was looking good. Their hitting's getting better and better. Tanner Bybee pitched that game, and he had 5 strikeouts. So the rookie pitcher's still looking good. Then game 2, lost 8-3. But Jose Ramirez had a solo home run, which put him at 20 home runs and 20 stolen bases on the season. And he is the first player in Cleveland history to do that. So that is pretty awesome. Jimenez had some amazing plays in the field. That guy is crazy. He just like is all over the place, and you think it's going to get through, and it doesn't. And he throws them out at first or second, wherever they need to be thrown out. He's something special. He's going for that Gold Glove this year. And then Tyler Freeman also hit a solo home run in that game, but still a loss. So then game 3, they win 10-7 in 11 innings. It was crazy. So Jose Ramirez hit another home run, a 2-run home run. And then Andres Jimenez hit a 2 RBI double to bring the score to 6-5. And then the Blue Jays came back and tied it 6-6. And the Guardians came out in the bottom of the 9th and had some crazy fielding. There was a bunt that Cole Calhoun from first base ran all the way across the field past the pitcher's mound, grabbed the ball, and threw the guy out at third to prevent a run from scoring. So that was awesome. So then, of course, we go into extra innings. So in the top of the 11th inning, Cole Calhoun hit a 2 RBI double. And then right after him, Ramon Laureano came up and hit a 2-run home run. So that put him up 10-6. Blue Jays got up and scored 1, so the final was 10-7. So that was a really good game. It took forever. I actually took a nap after the game. It was so long. So now we are in a series with the Twins in Minnesota. Game 1 was yesterday. We lost 10-6, and Curry was the pitcher, and he was pulled after the second inning after giving up a grand slam. Later in the game, Bo Naylor had another home run, a 2-run home run. But it just wasn't enough. Unfortunately, they couldn't get enough on the board. And every time they got close, the Twins came up and scored 1 or 2 more runs and just put it further away. So they ended up losing that one 10-6. So they will finish the series with the Twins today and tomorrow. They play tonight at 7:40, and Gavin Williams will be pitching, and then they play tomorrow at 1:10, I think. The game is tomorrow. So hopefully they can get some of these wins, because right now they're 7 games back from the Twins. So winning some of these games against the Twins will go a long way in getting them back where they need to be, but they've got to do it. And then we've got some updates on players. Cal Quantrill pitched over the weekend in Columbus, and he went 8 innings. He is now back with the team and expected to get a start here soon. So that will help with the pitching rotation, getting one of the starters back. Josh Naylor and David Fry are on rehab assignments, so hopefully that means they're close to coming back. Get Bo Naylor back in the rotation would be amazing with the way he was hitting. Hopefully he didn't forget how to hit while he's been rehabbing from his oblique injury. And then Noah Syndergaard was designated for assignment. He didn't last very long. Got him in the trade for Ahmed Rosario, and he is gone now. So, he hasn't been pitching too great. He had one fairly good game, but other than that, it's been pretty okay. I mean, he hasn't been horrible, but hasn't been great. Also, Bieber is with the team and has been throwing from the mound, so hopefully that means he's going to be coming back soon. So that'll be another pitcher added back into the starting rotation. So hopefully with him and Contrell coming back, we can get Curry out of the rotation and get him back into the bullpen. Because he did pretty well his first couple of starts, but he was a reliever, so they were limiting his pitch count. So he was only pitching a couple of innings, 3 to 5 max. I think 5 was the most he went. Most games he went 3, and then this last one he only went 2. So it'll be nice to have an actual starting pitcher in there, so they don't have to blow up the bullpen every game. So it'll be interesting to see how the next 2 games go with how much bullpen they had to use yesterday. Thankfully, they do have a day off on Thursday to travel back to Cleveland, where they will be facing the Rays from Friday to Sunday, and then Monday through Wednesday, they will be playing the Twins again. So they've got to get a few of these games against the Twins, and then they need some help from the other teams the Twins are playing so that they can get back in the mix for the Central Division. But I don't know. We'll see. And then on a final note on the Guardians, yesterday, former manager Pat Corrales, who is the manager from 83 to 87, passed away. So R.I.P. to him. So that is going to wrap things up with the Guardians. And I'm going to take a short break, and then I'll be back to talk Browns. There's so much Browns to talk about. So we'll be back on the Show of the Land with Jen B on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
Sports fans, do you like teams that are tough, cities that are tougher, and fan bases that are passionate about their teams? How about teams that are historic and stadiums that are iconic? Then you belong in Chicago, and you need to check out Chi-Town Weekly. Join me, Adam Kernan, every week as we keep up with all things Chicago sports. Bears, Bulls, Blackhawks, Cubs, White Sox. We'll cover them all, plus more. The Windy City is always buzzing, and we'll keep you up on all the big games and major stories. So tune in to Chi-Town Weekly every week right here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
Well, what is up, Carolina Nation? This is John Felipe of the Carolina Cast, of course, the podcast of, by, and for the Carolinas, right here on IE Sports, your direct feed for all that is sports. And I'm reminding you to tune in Fridays at 7 p.m. Eastern for the latest in Carolina sports, whether it's the Panthers that keep on pounding, the fly natures of the Hornets, the storming Hurricanes, the battle of the Blues with Duke and UNC, the fight of the Clemson Tigers, or the amazing atmosphere of any Carolina college. I'm talking App State, I'm talking ECU. I've got you covered. Once again, tune in for the Carolina Cast with me, John Felipe, Fridays at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, right here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
What's up, sports fans? You're listening to IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. I'm your favorite West Coast Wisconsinite, Bernie Bango, and if you're a cheesehead, come listen to my show, Big Cheese Sports, where we road trip around America's Dairyland, previewing, reviewing, predicting, debating, and digging into all that is Wisconsin sports at the college and pro levels. Join me on IE Sports Radio, Sundays at 1 p.m. Central Standard. Bernie out.
All right. Welcome to AZ Sports Daily. I'm your host, Kiernan Daly, bringing the heat to Arizona sports. There's no discrimination here. We're going to talk about every sports team, professional and college. The show is all about you, the listener. I'm here to entertain you. Are you not entertained? Is this not why you are here? It's going to be fun, high energy. You may not agree with what I say. That's okay. Let me hear you. Let's talk about it. Join me every Wednesday, 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, right here on AZ Sports Daily. That's AZ Sports, D-A-L-E-Y, and at IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
You're back live with Jen B on the Show of the Land right here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. So let's get into the Browns. So Saturday they played Kansas City in Kansas City, and unfortunately it was a loss, 33-32. But you know, it is what it is. It's preseason, but the first team did play, with a few exceptions. Nick Chubb, Myles Garrett, Joel Bitonio didn't play. I think that's it. I could be wrong, but I think that's it. So, game did not start out great. So, we received the initial kickoff. Jakeem Grant, first game back from the ruptured Achilles, takes the kickoff, returns it, gets tackled, and then he doesn't get up. He's laying on the ground, grabbing his leg, obviously in a significant amount of pain. Ends up getting carted off with an air cast on his leg. Gotta feel bad for the guy. Just can't seem to catch a break. So, turns out he's got a ruptured patellar tendon, and he is out for the season again. So he's on IR. So then the offense comes out. They seem a bit shaken. I don't know if it was because of the injury to Jakeem Grant or what, but they just seemed off. So, Amari is not the quarterback. Let's try that again. Deshaun Watson comes out with a great pass to DPJ. We're like, all right, looking good. Then he hands the ball off to Jordan Wilkins. Jordan Wilkins fumbles the handoff. And Kansas City recovers. So, as soon as I saw that, I said he had better be cut by this time tomorrow. And he was. So, that's good. But, anywho, so then Kansas City gets the ball. They take over in their own territory. But the defense came out and did well. They held them to a field goal. So, 3-0. We're losing. It's okay. Get the ball back. Offense goes back out there. And guess what happens? Jordan Wilkins fumbles again. This one we didn't lose, but he fumbled again. So then he gets pulled. He's out of the game. So then it's Demetric Felton and John Kelly taking turns at running back. They end up going 3 and out on that drive because the fumble, they lost a bunch of yards. So they punt. Bojorquez punts well as usual, but the coverage team not so great. I believe it went into the end zone, so they got the ball at the 25. Defense did pretty well. Offense comes back out, gets the ball back. Offense comes back out, and Watson throws a 53-yard pass to Amari Cooper. Absolutely beautiful. Finish the drive with an amazing corner pylon throw from Watson to Njoku for a touchdown. So then Cade York comes out to kick the extra point. Misses the extra point. Then gets hit and is laying on the ground holding his foot. So there's roughing the kicker penalty. They go for the 2-point conversion. They get it. So we're up 8-3. All right. But Cade York's hurt. So now what are we going to do? Because he's the only kicker on the roster. So they keep playing. They get another touchdown. Cade York comes out and kicks the extra point and makes it. So it seems he was okay. There are a lot of rumors going around that he was faking it just to make things easier on himself for missing the extra point. I don't know if that's true. He did get hit. It's hard to see because of the camera angles and everybody's like all up in that same area. So it's hard to see how he got hit. And if it is possible that he was somewhat injured, but regardless, he came back in and he played the rest of the game. He did miss a kickoff, but that was because he couldn't find his helmet after he came out of the medical tent. But the first team scored the 2 touchdowns. During that time, Juan Thornhill also had a pick 6 against his former team, so that was pretty awesome. He ran it into the end zone and did the Chiefs tomahawk. It was pretty funny. But so the defense looked solid. Zadarius Smith looked amazing. Of course, Myles Garrett wasn't out there, but the defensive tackles, the defensive ends that were playing were getting pressure like crazy. They for the most part, kept everything in front of them. The Chiefs did get a couple of decent plays in there, but nothing too serious. And they only got the 1 field goal while the first team was out there. So that is a positive. The second quarter on was DTR and Kellen Mond. DTR looked okay. He did not look as spectacular as he has the last couple of preseason games, but he, no touchdowns, no interceptions, so can't complain too much. Rodney McLeod had an interception, which is what resulted in the first team's second touchdown. And then at the end of the first half, Cam Biggers had a pick 6. So go into halftime winning big, but it was all downhill from there. I did not watch the second half, so I had to switch to the Guardians game. And after I saw the final score, I never went back and finished watching the Browns game. I did see some highlights, if you could call them that. Kellen Mond, from what I understand, looked awful. He did throw an interception. He did score another. They did score again while Mond was in. But then Cade York came out to kick the game-winning field goal, and shocker of all shocks, he missed it. So that was the preseason game. And unfortunately, we had a few injuries during the game. Jakeem Grant, which I already mentioned. Jordan Kanasic went out with a knee injury that has now been reported as a torn MCL. So he is expected to miss several weeks. And Jordan Elliott went out with a hip injury. He was questionable to return during the game, and I have not heard one thing about it since, so I'm assuming he's okay. Tony Fields went out to be evaluated for a concussion. Again, haven't heard any more about it, so I'm assuming he's okay. The bad one. Denzel Ward is in the concussion protocol with his 4th concussion of his career. So, don't know what's going to happen with that or how long he's going to be out. So, it'll be interesting to see how that ends up playing out and if it possibly ends up ending his career. A lot of people are saying he should just retire at this point with his 4th concussion. So, I don't know. I mean, I know they've been trying to teach him how to tackle better and not lead with his head, but it's been 5 years and he hasn't figured it out. So I don't know that he's going to be changing that anytime soon. So, it is what it is. So then we had a couple of trades that happened before the preseason game. The Browns traded Josh Dobbs to the Arizona Cardinals for a 5th round pick. They also gave the Cardinals a 7th round pick, so no biggie there. And then Sunday, after the craziness, they cut Jordan Wilkins, and then they traded tackle Tyrone Wheatley to the Patriots for running back Pierre Strong. And then yesterday, they traded a 2025 7th round pick to the Chargers for kicker Dustin Hopkins, and they cut Cade York. Wasn't sure if AB was gonna pull the trigger on that one, but he did. It is his draft pick from last year, but you just can't build this roster the way that they have and go into the season with a kicker that can't make kicks. So they did what they had to do. They cut Cade York and they got a new kicker. So we'll see how Dustin Hopkins works out. Hopefully he's better than Cade York was. I mean, that doesn't take much. Doesn't take much. There's something going on in that head of his that he just can't get past. So, because he can make every kick, he can make any kick you want him to make in practice, but put him in a game, it's not even 50-50. So, hope he figures that out and catches on somewhere, but it's not going to be in Cleveland. Taryn in the chat says, "You're welcome for Dustin Hopkins." Why, thank you, Taryn. And we have a couple more updates before we get to the 53-man roster. Some good news. Marquise Goodwin was activated off the NFI list. He is back and he was practicing today. Guard Forbes was added to the NFI list. So we currently have 2 guards on the roster. 2. Which we'll get to when we get to the 53-man roster. So I don't know what their plan is there, but right now there's 2. The starting 2 guards. Additionally, Jerome Ford, Harrison Bryant also returned to practice today after Ford had a hamstring injury and has been out most of preseason, and then Bryant had an undisclosed medical condition that could not be discussed due to HIPAA. So no clue what was going on with him, but he is back at practice, so that is good news. So, the long-awaited 53-man roster. I'm going to make you wait just a little bit longer. We're going to take a little break, and then we will be back to go over the 53-man roster. You're listening to Gen B on the Show of the Land, or on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
Damn! Green team! Set! Hey!
What's going on, football fans? This is me, your boy Larry B, inviting you to join myself, Colin Reynolds, Mike Pat, and John Felipe for one of the most electrifying football shows you have ever heard. 3 and Out, right here at IE Sports Radio. Recap of the week before, a preview of what's to come, and of course, 3 hardcore head-to-head prime-time face-offs each week. You don't want to miss it. College football, and do you want to hear a college football show dedicated to all that is college football, including junior college in the CCAA and in the NJCAA, the NAIA, and the NCAA, including Division III, Division II, Division I AA in the FCS, and Division I Single A in the FBS? Well then, look no further. Join myself, Larry B., and my colleagues, Mr. H-Town Blake Henley, and Mr. Christian Espinoza, each week during the college football season for the latest in college football on 3 and Out College Edition, right here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
Hey yo, what's up? It's your man Bishop, the voice of This Is KC Sports, the show where we go over the Chiefs, the Royals, KC Current, Sporting KC, MU, and oh yeah, if we got time, we'll even throw in some of that KU stuff from my people on the 913 South. Come and hang out with us every Sunday, 2 p.m. Central Standard Time on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
Hey there, sports fans. Are you looking for a sports show that maybe isn't 100% about sports?
Then you might want to check out the Sports Couple Perspectives right here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
Most sports shows cover only scores and stats, and while we're not opposed to that, we dig a little deeper into sports issues and some of the hottest topics in athletics.
In addition to sports, we take a journey through my neck of the woods, pop culture, with movie reviews of both sports and non-sports films.
Speaking of pop culture, make sure to participate in our game nights, where we quiz each other on our specialties, and you, the listeners, can win IE Sports Radio apparel.
We always have a great time learning more about each other's worlds, one show at a time.
So join us each week on the Sports Couple Perspectives, right here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
You're back live with Gen B on the Show of the Land right here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. Are you ready? Are you ready for it? Got the initial 53-man roster. direct from the Browns. So it's the official initial 53-man roster. So at quarterback, we have Deshaun Watson, shocker, and Dorian Thompson-Robinson. At running back, we have Nick Chubb, Jerome Ford, and Pierre Strong Jr. At wide receiver, we have Elijah Moore, Amari Cooper, Marquise Goodwin, Donovan Peoples-Jones, David Bell, and Cedric Tillman. And I am sorry, sports fans. Unfortunately, Austin Watkins did not make the cut. Bummer. Hopefully, they can get him back. We'll see. Then at tight end, we have David Njoku, Jordan Akins, and Harrison Bryant. For the offensive line, we have left guard Joe Bitonio, right tackle Jack Conklin, backup center Nick Harris, backup tackle James Hudson III, backup tackle DeJuan Jones, center Ethan Posick, right guard Wyatt Teller, left tackle Jedrick Wills, and another backup center Luke Whippler. So that is the offense. So let's talk about this for a second. The offensive line. They have no guards. Just Joe Bitonio and Wyatt Teller. They cut Michael Dunn. Forbes is on the NFI list. And they cut all the other guards that they had on the roster that I don't remember. Gossett and some other people. So there is a lot of rumblings going on that there was a handshake agreement done with Michael Dunn when he was cut, that he would be re-signed after they put a couple of guys on the short-term IR once they had the initial 53. However, I saw a report this morning that someone in Akron News spoke with Michael Dunn, and he said there was no such agreement, and he was shocked to be cut. So we'll see what happens there. Hopefully they have a plan, because I don't like going into the season with only 2 starting guards and no backups, because Wyatt Teller tends to get hurt. Joe Bitonio, not so much, but Wyatt Teller tends to get hurt. So we'll see what happens there. Now, on to the defense. Defensive line. Defensive end, Zadarius Smith, Myles Garrett. Defensive tackle, Shelby Harris, Siaki Ika. Defensive end, Isaiah McGuire and Ogbo Okoronkwo. Defensive tackle, Jordan Elliott and Dalvin Tomlinson. And defensive end, Alex Wright. Alex Wright is currently hurt. He had knee surgery not too long ago, so most likely he's going to be going on the short-term IR. They did cut Isaiah Thomas. They also cut Maurice Hurst and Tristan Hill, so look for one of them at least to be coming back once they put Alex Wright on the short-term IR. Linebacker, we have Anthony Walker Jr., Mahamoud Diabate, Tony Fields II, Jordan Kanasic, Jeremiah Usukoromoa, Sione Takitaki, and Matthew Adams. Again, look for Jordan Kanasic to be going on the short-term IR, so there is a possibility that somebody can come back that they let go when they do that, make that move. Then cornerback room, Martin Emerson Jr., Mike Ford Jr., AJ Green III, Cameron Mitchell, Greg Newsome II, and Denzel Ward. Then the safety room, Juan Thornhill, Grant Delpit, Ronnie Hickman, Rodney McLeod, and DeAnthony Bell. So we have 2 undrafted rookie free agents that made the initial 53. Mahamoud Diabate at linebacker and Ronnie Hickman at safety. So that is pretty impressive. They did give them 5th-round tenders, but we won't talk about that. I'm very happy that they made the roster. I was hoping Austin Watkins would also make it, but he did not. So we'll see if he's back after they make some of these IR moves that they are going to be making over the next couple of days. And then for special teams, we have, of course, my guy, Charlie Hewlett, because who doesn't love their long snapper? And then punter, Corey Bojorquez, and kicker, Dustin Hopkins. So that is the initial 53. So we'll see what ends up happening once they move a couple of guys to IR. It was good to see that Jerome Ford and Harrison Bryant are back practicing because they cut all the other tight ends. So I was hoping Harrison Bryant was going to be back, but they haven't given any updates since they're not allowed to talk about it. So we didn't have any idea what was going on with him or how long he was going to be out. So it's good to see him back at practice. He's not the greatest tight end in the world. He can't block, but he can catch most of the time. He does fumble sometimes. So I don't know if they'll end up keeping him for good, but he's been on the team for 3 or 4 years, so he at least knows what to do. He knows the offense pretty well. So we'll see what happens with that, but hopefully they will get a guard or two. They have enough tackles, but on the plus side, James Hudson has been playing some at guard, and so has Luke Whippler. So is Nick Harris, but we don't want to talk about that because he is not good at guard. He's terrible. But Luke Whippler did fairly decent at guard, and James Hudson has actually been playing better at guard than he does at tackle. So maybe that is their goal, and that's why they cut all the guards. I don't know. We will see. But that is pretty much all the news that I have on the Browns, but there weren't really any big surprises for me. I didn't really think that Watkins was going to make the roster, especially once I heard that Goodwin was being activated. So that wasn't a huge surprise to me. I was hoping maybe that they would decide to keep 7 wide receivers and Watkins would make the cut, and I felt like he had a better shot once Jakeem Grant got hurt as well, because that took that question mark out of the thought process, keeping Jakeem Grant so that you have that kick and punt return option, but he's gone. He's out for the year, so that was not an option. So, but I thought maybe Watkins would make it if Goodwin wasn't cleared to play yet, but he is cleared to play. So Watkins had to go. Bummer. We'll see if he makes it through waivers, and then we'll go from there. Maybe they'll get him back on the practice squad, or maybe they'll try and re-sign him for one of those slots where somebody's going on IR. I don't know. We'll see. But I expect in the next day or two to see Alex Wright and Jordan Kanasic go on IR, at least the short-term IR. From what I understand, Alex Wright should be good to go after the bye week 5. So we'll see. And then Kanasic, I'm not sure how long he's going to be out. All I've heard is several weeks, so I would say probably half the season at least. So we're going to move on now to the Columbus Crew. they played on Saturday versus Toronto, and they won again 2-0. Diego Rossi scored the first goal, and Jason Russell-Rowe scored the second goal. Today is Alec Matan's birthday, so happy birthday to him. And they have a couple of games coming up. They will play tomorrow against the Houston Dynamo, and then they will play Saturday against Montreal. So, go Crew. And now we will move into some college football. So, we have college football starting up on Thursday. Most of the games are being played Thursday and Saturday. Actually, I think all of them are Thursday or Saturday. Yes, all of them are Thursday or Saturday. So for the FBS, we have number 3, Ohio State at Indiana. Ryan Day named the quarterback today. It will be Kyle McCord. And Ohio State is currently favored by 30 points. So that should be a nice blowout. Then Kent State will be at UCF on Thursday, hopefully, depending on the hurricane. UCF did shut down classes today, but they say the game will still be played, so we'll see what happens with that. Gotta love weather, don't you? Between the Guardians and and this Kent State game, I've had enough storms to last a lifetime. And then we have Akron at Temple on Saturday. For FCS, we have Youngstown State versus Valparaiso on Thursday. And then in D2, we have number 12 Ashland at number 16 Indiana University of Pennsylvania on Thursday. And we have Findlay versus Truman on Saturday. And Tiffin versus McKendree also on Saturday. And then, I skipped one. For D2, we also have Notre Dame of Ohio versus Ohio Dominican on 9-2. For D3, we have number 2 Mount Union at Defiance on 9-2. We have number 19 John Carroll versus number 11 Wisconsin Whitewater, also on Saturday. BW Baldwin Wallace versus Mount St. Joseph on Saturday. And Heidelberg at Hiram on Thursday. So starting Thursday, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4 games. And then Saturday, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 games on Saturday. So lots of college football coming up. So I am going to watch whatever games that I am able to watch. And I will have some details and some stats and scores for you next week. And then also the following week's schedules for those teams. And we'll see if OSU, Ashland, Mount Union, and John Carroll can keep their rankings or move up. That will be good to see. I'm excited to see OSU this year. They lost a lot of players to the draft this year, so I'm very excited to see it. And Brian Hartline was just promoted to offensive coordinator. So he's done an amazing job with the wide receiver room. So I'm very interested to see what he does with the whole offense. So looking forward to that game on Saturday. I know for sure I should be able to watch that one, but you know, the way they televise things is weird. Like, I couldn't watch the Crew game because you have to pay to watch soccer. Crazy. Like, when I looked it up, it said it was on Apple TV. I was like, okay, cool, I have Apple TV. So I get on Apple TV and it won't let me watch it. I was like, what the heck? Why can't I watch it? Gotta sign up for MLS Season Pass. And I was like, ugh. Well, I'm not going to do that right now, but hopefully I'll be able to watch a couple of the Crew games. We'll see. Because they do have featured games on Apple TV that you don't have to pay to watch. So we'll see if I can get any of these Crew games coming up in the next couple of weeks. They do have 2 this week, so maybe one of the 2 will be televised. We shall see. But I will be checking my listings on my cable to see if any of these other local Ohio games are being televised. But Ohio State will definitely be on. So I will definitely be watching that one. So at the very least, I'll have some updates for you on Ohio State other than just scores. But that is about it for today. I don't have, like I said, there's no real surprises on the final 53. I will say I was a little surprised that they cut Isaiah Thomas because he is also injured. Him and Alex Wright actually had the exact same surgery. So I kind of thought they might keep him and put him on IR, but I'm thinking maybe they're figuring since he's injured, nobody's going to sign him so they can get him on the practice squad. But other than that, and the whole guard situation, that just blows my mind. No real surprises on that. And then we've got game 1 coming up on September 10th. Against Cincinnati. So that'll be a real test for this team to see where things are at. Because we already know that the Browns do well against Cincinnati for the most part. So with all the changes to the defense and, you know, Deshaun Watson actually looking like a real quarterback this year, hopefully it'll go well. I expect the offense to start out a little slow, but I think they'll get it together pretty quick. They started out in the preseason game a little slow. The first 2 drives were but then they pulled it together and they scored 2 more touchdowns. So I'm not too worried about that. And then, I'm excited to see Nick Chubb and Myles Garrett out there since they haven't been out there at all during preseason. So the defense already looks good without Myles Garrett out there. So I can only imagine how much better it's going to be with him out there. But prayers up to the injured players. Hopefully they all heal well and can get back to playing, especially Denzel Ward. He's got to just keep his head out of the game. Well, you know what I mean. In the game, but out of the game. Out of the tackles. Keep his head out of the tackles. But so next week we will have some actual college football games to talk about. We'll talk more about whatever happens with the Guardians over the next week or so, and we'll see what other kind of things happen with the Browns, and maybe there'll be some Cavs or Blue Jackets news. But we will definitely have Guardians, Browns in college football and Crew. So we will talk about all of that next week. So that's all for tonight. Thank you for joining me, Jen B, on the Show of the Land. Be sure to follow me on X, Instagram, and Threads at BelieveLandGirl. You can catch me on TikTok at jen.believeland, and you can follow the show on X at showofthelandIE. Next up, the Buffalo Huddle with Patty Bax, right here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. Be sure to catch me next Tuesday at 6 p.m. Eastern on the Show of the Land for more on Cleveland and Columbus sports on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. Have a great night, Cleveland.
Bye.